He says any expressed opinions and references of Black deported veterans of America are the viewpoint of BDVA and not related to anyone's America Heroes Group Incorporated. But this is really a very, very important issue. And, the Black Deported Veterans of America is a nonprofit support group for those that served in the United States military and were subsequently deported to the countries where they were born. The predominant makeup of the group is by those that identify as Black or Asian African American, but support is often for all deported veterans. This website is geared towards raising awareness of the plight of the Black deported veterans. Bios and updates on select individual Black deported veterans are available. Updates on changes in U.S. policy and the avenues for public and private support are also noted. It's also found on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And I'm going to this because I think this is such an important issue and mission. And the discussion is going to be on Black Deported Veterans of America, the mission, agenda, programs, and services. Welcome, 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 James. I am really honored to have you on the show. And when I started looking at your website, it was like a new world to me because I wasn't even aware that it was going on to this extent. And all the images of all the veterans you had listed, it was like I was rolling down the page and I kept rolling and rolling. And I was like, they can't be doing this to this many veterans that serve this country. So James, tell us about your, the group and what you're trying to get accomplished.
All right, thank you very much, and thank you for giving us an opportunity to speak on this platform. BDVA, Black Deported Veterans of America, came as an offshoot after realizing that so many of Americans first of all, very few Americans even know about deported veterans and the issue at hand. But those that do generally think of this as just a Hispanic problem. When we think of immigration, it's, especially for people like me that come from the North, I'm from Detroit, Michigan, so my connection with the Hispanic culture didn't come until I joined the Marine Corps. I had never met anyone from the Hispanic culture, in Detroit as I came up. So I, in my ignorance, I thought everybody that spoke Spanish were all, basically on the same team. It wasn't until I got into the Marine Corps, and actually I was overseas, that a Mexican guy explained to me that there was a difference between Puerto Ricans, between Cubans, and such. And through that process, I began to understand there were nuances, but I never looked at them as different. Okay, there was never a thing of wondering where you came from and if that's how to grade you or to assess who you were. But unfortunately, that's what wound up happening to veterans that were not born here in America. So basically, because of a geographical point in their lives, the beginning of their lives, that stopped them from being treated equal as you and I, as veterans that are there, because we were born here. So, if we happen to get a DUI, we may pay a fine and go on about our business, whereas one of them happens to get a DUI, they can be expelled from this country. And so that was the first pretense of things that we didn't understand deported veterans. But then in the beginning, I'd only heard of one. His name was Rohan Combs. And when I say beginning, for me, it was in 2013 is when I came into this as a documentarian. And I heard about this guy, Rohan Combs. And I thought it was an offshoot because I just never thought of Black people being deported in the process. So I thought he was, damn, that's messed up for this one brother, didn't really get it. Then as years went on, I learned about Roman Sabal and Howard Bailey. So again, these were just these couples, but I didn't really know. While going along, riding along with Jesus Manuel Valenzuela, who's this one of the founders and iconic members of, founders of the deported veteran movement, especially on this side of the border. I wound up being followed by this brother named David Bairu from Kenya. And he also was already a friend of Manny, Jesus Manny Valenzuela, but we call him Manny. He was already a friend of Manny's, and Manny told me, yeah, this is a cool cat. He's from Kenya. I was like, Kenya, wow. Okay, so now I met a guy that's from, I heard about a guy from Jamaica, or two guys from Jamaica and one guy from Belize, but this was the first time that I actually had met a Black deported veteran. And the ironic portion about him was he never committed a crime. He was deported. He never committed a crime. Most that you hear that have been deported had some kind of interaction with the law, even if it's so minor, but interaction with the law. But he had never committed a crime. So we became Facebook friends, and over that process, I wound up meeting this cat named Charlie Severin from Commonwealth of Dominica. And I would tell you, during the process of all of this, I'm learning geographical things and historic things and sociological things that I didn't know. When he said Commonwealth of Dominica, I was like, oh, you mean Dominican Republic? He goes, no, Commonwealth of Dominica. I'm like, where's that? He's like, do you know where the Lower Antilles is? I go, yeah. He said, well, go on your map and just keep zooming in, and you're going to eventually get there. And I did. It's just a little tiny place, about the size of Okinawa. You know what I'm saying? So again, now as it's going, I'm realizing I'm learning different people from different sections, and I'm also marveled that people are coming from these other countries to come and serve here in the United States, and for different reasons. Some for patriotic reasons, some for school, some for citizenship, But in almost every case, they will tell you that they were promised citizenship in the process. So I'm getting those stories. I'm starting to begin to understand that this is more than just, or extrapolate from the few, that this is more than just a few and stuff. So in October of 2021, the Biden administration allowed for veterans that have been deported to be able to come to the border of Mexico, both in Juarez and in TJ. It allowed for them to come there to get COVID shots and to get COVID shots and to get their record for CMP, for compensation benefits and stuff. And so I cheered for my buddies that were down in TJ, and the ones, my other brothers that were over there in Juarez. And then I called out to these guys. I was like, did you get to go to the consulate, or did you get to go to the embassy to do this? And they knew nothing about this. And I was like, what are you talking about? It's like, they didn't take care. I was like, didn't these people call you and tell you? And they were like, they're hearing it for the first time from me. So we decided that because I was here, what we do is we just pass on this information. What wound up happening was we did a reach out, and I reached out to like every Black veteran organization or Black organization like NAACP, NAD, and tried to bring this to their attention. My local, I'm here in San Diego, my local San Diego NAACP branch had a acting president at the time, and they had moved the message up to the chairperson for the Armed Forces and Veterans Affairs Committee for California, Hawaii, Dr. Antonisha Williamson Burles. And so she gives me a call, and she says, look, I got this note that said that someone said there's a thing called Black deported veterans. Is this true? So I immediately I was like, do you have a messenger account? She goes, yes. And I put her on a messenger phone, and I called her. Like, it was just like all these guys answered, from Honduras, from Jamaica, from Trinidad, from Dominican Republic, from England. Our one of our co-founders, rest in peace, Rudy Richardson, all came in, and she found out, wow, this is true. So she became one of our first advocates, and she said, you need to become an organization, not just this little group. You need to become an organization. And so that's where, between those things that happened, that's where we wound up coming, because we realized that no one was really looking out for us. There were organizations like Deported Veterans Support House that had raised the awareness. Hell, everybody that I interviewed, every veteran that I interviewed said there were veterans from every place around the world, in India, in Europe, in Asia, all around. But the picture you kept seeing, if you look up deported veterans, and I'll tell you, even when you get off of here, you get a break. Look up deported veterans and click on images and see how many people you see that look like us. All right. Then remember what you saw on our website and understand why Black deported veterans had to become an issue.
Yeah, that's amazing because you know when you were saying that a lot of people don't know even the regular geography of our countries, right? And you know, so we have the 23 countries that make up North America. And if you look at North America, it's actually comprised of Canada, Mexico, and the United States. The United States is not North America. That's just
No.
part of North America. And you have 7 Central American countries. You have 13 Caribbean islands that make up part of North America. So our history is inextricably linked, you know, with these cultures. I mean, most of the business slave trade routes and all of that came through the islands. A lot of that was part of the building of this country of the United States. And so if you have someone who comes in and actually puts a uniform on, which only less than 1% of people in the country do, by the way, those people come in and put the uniform on to defend the country, put their lives in risk, and then to be deported seems, you know, contrary to what the American theme is supposed to be about, right?
Well, I think you know, yes, most definitely it is in contrary because most people are surprised when they hear about this
right,
situation. You know, they're like, well, I thought that they were citizens, or well, if you served, you should automatically become a citizen. And that's what generally I got as I traveled across America from
right.
Nebraska, from Kansas, from Colorado, New Mexico, Illinois, Indiana, Michigan. Um, um, uh, Washington State, Florida, Texas. Every place that I went, each time that I asked, I just randomly asked someone, you know, or interviewed someone there. Everyone pretty much felt that that's what was, you know, that if you serve, you should be able to, you should be automatically get your citizenship. And the thing, unfortunately, is in a lot of cases, some of our brothers and sisters, because it's not just guys that this happened to, it's also women. Because we have one of our sisters, Laura Mesa from Costa Rica, that wound up being deported. The 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 overall situation is, in most cases, they thought that when they took their oath, that they were good to go. You know, some of their commands either thought it or told them, you don't need to do anything else. You took the oath, you were fine. You know, and some of them, I believe, actually thought that you know, they weren't trying to just, you know, steer them wrong. It became a belief because there was no process that was in line, you know, especially equilaterally across every one of the departments of defense. There was no process that said this has to be done, this has to be done, this has to be done. And then the way it got done, it was up to you. If you had the knowledge that you had to do it, you had to wind up trying to get it done. And getting it done sometimes was impossible because you got deployed to places like Iraq or Afghanistan, or you know, wherever you may have been at the time. So, or what time you served, you know, Vietnam, whichever. It goes against the principle ideology. To me, it's like once I found out about this issue, it was like when you find out that you may like read in the newspaper about someone that met a tragic end over in Florida, and it's like, oh, okay, damn, that's messed up. But then you find out that's your second cousin. There's a different feeling now that you have with it. It's like, whoa, wait a minute. I served with all of these cats. I never asked them where they came from. I never graded them about where they were born based upon those things. And I understood that a bullet didn't discriminate. It didn't say, wait a minute, I'm not going to hit you if you didn't come from here or because you came from here. So when I look at it, I'm like, well, you hear people say, thank you for your service, or they only want to focus on the sacrifice if you lost limb or you lost a life. And I just personally, I share the ideology that no, you need to understand that the sacrifice actually came in boot camp, because that's where we gave up a part of our humanity to become the best killer that you wanted us to be. No matter what we look like in that uniform, the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Marine Corps, Coast Guard, everybody, they were training us to get the other guy. Okay, that's what we were trained to do. And there had to be a part of our humanity that we had to sacrifice to be able to be to do that, to be able to do that job, and try not to have that mentally play with us. You know, I share, it's like, dude, I came for 17 years in my life. What was it? You know, do not kill by the law. Do not kill in church. Do not kill in school. And then this becomes what we wind up doing. So this is what you do to someone that has sacrificed a part of their humanity, and have agreed to give up their life so that you can have the liberties to be able to go to the movies, to go to the mall, to even say, I don't like that, you know, give your finger to the president, to be able to have those freedoms and liberties, but you want to put them out because they were born here. That's ridiculous. And then to only understand that it's to only understand or think that it's a Hispanic issue, you know. And when I say ignorance, I don't mean it in, you know, to be degrading to someone, but it goes to our ignorance of not knowing how immigration works, you know, and that it is, you know, that it affects, you know, Blacks and Asians and other communities just as well.
Yeah, because, you know, one of the things, there are a few points that you brought up that really are really extremely important. And, you know, I know you had asked a question for one of our earlier guests, but I'm going to get you in touch with him because both of you have the same call sign, Simplify.
Yes, sir.
Judge Hooks.
Yeah.
But he would love to talk to you. I mean, I think you would have a great conversation. But you were talking about people being deported and serving, and, you know, a bullet doesn't have discriminate, but some of those people actually may have had service connected disabilities or service connected issues. So those were just like kind of swept under the carpet when they were deported. I'm not sure of how they were even addressed, and maybe you can talk about some success stories too that your organization.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna tell you, like, for instance, like what you're talking about, like one of the offshoots of what winds up happening. Okay. As a business, you have to prepare for everything. So I look at the VA and understand that each time a person goes to file for their CMP, the VA or its representatives can't keep running to Congress and say, okay, give me the money for this one guy, give me the money for this one person. So you have to have stepped back and allotted this money to, in your budget, that money was going to be there. So on average, or in most cases, these veterans have been gone for at least a decade. So let's take a person that's been that would have been 100% service connected, right? But because he didn't get their assessment, that they're not getting that money, but the VA still sees them as viable, so they're still getting money for them. All right. So then a person that was gone 10 years, 100%, that's about 400 grand. All right, that's a little over 400 grand, right, for one person. All right, now we're estimating in the thousands that have been deported. All right, I mean, even if you just go by like the numbers, there were 135 in the MB program. There were 135 veterans returned on parole. So if you just take those 135 right there, you're talking about $40 million. You know, over $40 million right there. Where did that money go to? Because you never hear the VA talking about we have an overage, you know, in those situations. So that's one way that it affects them in that situation. They're not able to get mental health care because even though the VA tells us that your deportation status has nothing to do with stopping you or from your benefits, but it does, because I can't access those benefits. I can't come into the country. You won't give that authority to just any hospital. It's only those that are within the foreign medical program. And there's only a few of those. And for that, you have to have already been assessed as service connected, and you can only be seen for that issue. So in many cases, many of us didn't know, because I didn't know anything. I got out in '86. I didn't know anything about the VA until 2005, almost 19 years later. The only thing, when I got out, the only thing I knew about the VA was, or thought about the VA, is where you went if you were blown up or you were about to die. I didn't know anything about going there to get benefits. I didn't know anything about I could go there for my hospital, any of my hospitalization or any of my medical or anything like that. So I can imagine what it was like for some that got out even earlier than I did and wound up running in, into the law, into a situation, and then being deported. So they never saw any of their benefits. They never got to utilize their GI Bill. And crazy thing, like the post 9/11 GI Bill, there's a stipulation in there that allows that for a little over 28 grand for you to go to a foreign school, but they couldn't get that money to be able to go to any schools in the countries that they have been deported to. Because if you're not already attached in the system before you get up out of there, it's really hard to get into the system,
Yeah. But there were some things I saw on a website where some people may have gotten their citizenship. I'm not sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
that actually won.
Well, actually, even more than okay. So, Kevin, my co-founder, David Badio, came back in 2023, right? And is it 2023? Yeah. Okay. So David came back in 2023, and September 2023. And November 17th, because the day before my birthday, he got his naturalization. He was naturalized and he's now a citizen. He's a nursing student here at San Diego City College. He has custody of his son. He brought his son here from well, actually his son came with his mother, but he's taking custody and responsibility. Beautiful young man, very smart, very wild man. He's a success story. He's the reason why if people go, well, why should we bring them back? They're just going to reoffend or they may do this. He shows you, given the opportunity, what can happen. Kevin Martinez, who is featured in the film Bring Them Home by Rob Young. It's the first film that I saw that shows black people in it, that have been deported. And Kevin, he's working on his master's degree right now. He's in the Pennsylvania area working on his master's degree. Has his work with family. He's a standout in the Belizean community. And there's others that just don't want their information out there. But yeah, there are some that have come back. Kevin came back before Mr. Biden came into office. But David is a result of the MV program. He came back through MV, so it was successful for him. It's actually, as I said, it was been successful for 138 people on coming back. But of those, only 45 have naturalized. All right, and 19 of the other 19, well, 19 of those also are have their LPR, their legal permanent residency reinstated. All right. So that basically leaves 74 of those 138 who right now are at risk of being deported if the new administration follow its edict of trying to do away with humanitarian parole, because that is the status that they are on right now. So there are some successful stories like Hector Barajas, a person we would call the father of our movement and stuff. He has his naturalization, but very few get their naturalization. Some are lucky to get their LPR.
Yeah, we always talk about, I was thinking about what you're saying, we have a flag for, POW and MIAs, and, so, these people should not be left behind, and, some of them have been, have had, wounds of war. And, this is something that, as part of my family, the military family, we should not be turning our backs on them, and we should be helping them. And, so how do people get in touch with your organization? And, we're good. We have about a couple of minutes to go.
Okay. Well, one, you can reach our organization by the website at www.b as in boy, D as in dog, V as in Victor, A as in Apple, and I say that for civilians because that all of them get everything else in the .us. And it's contact@bdva.us. Okay, you can reach us there, or you can reach me at JL Smith, the number 2 at bdva.us. There are several organizations to be able to reach out to. Like one of the organizations that I'm a member of, Common Defense, is taking a strong stance and moving this forward. There where you're at, Pastor Emma Lozano and you guys there in Illinois, Pastor Emma Lozano and the Lincoln Methodist Church are strong supporters. Pastor Julie.
Yeah.
Excuse me?
Yes, I understand. Yeah, because Lozano, I know. Yeah.
And then, around the country, again, there's Deported Veterans Support House. There's Unified U.S. Deported Veterans. There's Repatriate Our Patriots. There's my post, BFW Post 7420. But you can reach out to BFWs. We can reach out to American Legions, and you should ask them because they need to know. And if they don't know, this will help them to know. So, but you can reach us, like I said, by contact at bdva.us.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, James. But we're going to have you back on because this is such an important topic and one that we should not be taking lightly. These people put their lives on the line for this country and should not be mistreated.